Beschluss the Rav Shlita and Rav Khan and my Shver and Shviger and my Imi Marasi. It's not, I was asked to become the honoree, and it's not obviously not something I usually do. I'm a very humble person, but I said I'm going to do it for the shul because the shul thinks that this is going to help the shul. I'll do it. But while I'm here, I would like to say a few things. So number one, I want to give advice to all the parents here. Okay, so, you make a joke first, okay. So, there's a story that I just heard that there was a young man, a young boy actually, in school in the Soviet Union. That's what it was called, I think, right? The Soviet Union. When Stalin was there, was it called the Soviet Union? Or, yeah, okay. So it was under Stalin. So someone came over and asked him, and his teacher asked him, I think, who's your father? Stalin. That's correctly. Who's your mother? Mother Russia. What do you want to be? An orphan. So, yeah. that's an example of bad parenting. Clearly, these parents did a good job, but we can learn a lot of lessons from Russia of how not to be, but we're not going to get into that now. So everyone here knows more than me. Okay, so I want to talk about a little bit something that I do regularly with parents who come to get advice from me. I mean, obviously I'm doing something right if you look at my kids, but maybe my wife gets the credit. But Baruch Hashem, I found people being really helped by a few things that I'm learning as I go along. And I'm getting advice from people older than me as well, so don't worry. But one of the great things that really parents can do for their kids is that they should be able to be told everything. If your children can tell you everything that's going on in their life, which is not easy to do, but if they can tell you, then you can help them. So, number one, I want to talk about one topic that often comes up. There's often things happening in the family, and that's am I doing the right tune for a dinner speech?
Perfect.
Yeah, good.
So let's say if something's happening that you're not sure, something that's happening in the family. Could be, I don't want to give examples. But, anything that's happening, if someone Chas v'Shalom got sick, let's say, or even if they're not so sick, but if the kid doesn't know what's happening, they get very anxious, and their imagination goes crazy. So it's important for you to open up to them what's going on in a age-appropriate way, not to do it in an irresponsible way, but if they hear basically what's happening, they don't worry as much. That starts right away, even from a very young age. Kids get all kinds of symptoms if you don't tell them what's going on. One of the tips that I got is when your kid comes home from yeshiva or school every night, every day, you should tell them these words. Tell me something good, something not so good, and something in the middle. So if you tell them that every day, even if they don't answer you, but at least they know the door's open to talk to you, and you get them used to talking to you about things that are happening in their life. Okay? There's more things that I'm not going to get into, but also there's another thing. I've had kids that think it's Lashon Hara to tell their parents what's going on. So you should ask a Rav yourself. I asked my Rav if I'm allowed to tell kids that it's not Lashon Hara in therapy. But in terms of, you're not getting a sack for everyone else. But certainly you should find out if that's really the halacha, that they can't tell the parents if it's Lashon Hara or not, if it's Ta'alas or not. So, but some children will not speak because of that reason. So if they don't tell you, you can't help them. It's a problem. What else? Sometimes you have to bring up a topic by yourself if you think it's maybe something you shouldn't be talking about. One other important point. So, first of all, opening up the door for them to talk, and there's another part where you should make sure that your kids think you're coping well. Okay? Your kids should think that you're doing well and that you're happy. It doesn't matter if you are or not, but the kids have to think that everything's going fine. And it's called a boundary. The kids shouldn't know what's happening in your life. Kids, do you know anything bad happening in my life? See, they don't know. I have no idea. They're always happy because they have no idea what I'm going through. Baruch Hashem, everything's fine. Baruch Hashem. So what I'm saying is, but this is an important thing. No matter what's going on in your life, you have to make sure that your kids think everything's fine. There's a famous story that there was a child that went to his parents and said he was already an adult. And said, whatever happened to that money in the emergency account where is it? It's like, we always said it was $100,000 emergency account. And they both started laughing their heads off and said, what's so funny? So they said it was never any emergency account. But whenever they were running low on money and they had to go cheap on certain things that they had to buy, they would have a meeting with the whole family and discuss whether this is the time to take money out of the emergency account or not. So this is an example of how you can keep your kids out of your problems, because kids have to be sheltered. Kids can't handle things that adults can handle. So, okay, here's another thing. I want to give a story, okay? A story that just happened. I can't say when it happened. Details have been changed to protect confidentiality. So, as you know, I do family therapy, which is a lot more fun than plain therapy, because you get more than one person in the room and it's much more exciting. So, I just recently helped a parent talk about a difficult topic in front of the kid. It was something difficult that the kid wasn't talking about. The kid was going through something. Everyone knew about it, but they weren't talking about it. It was obviously bothering the kid. So I said, we will talk about it. I told the kid, we will talk about it and you can listen. I spoke to the mother about it. And sometimes I had the father there also. Whenever he was available, he also came. But she began to panic, so I gave her permission to leave the room if she wanted. And it was obvious how much she was scared, and she covered her ears and hid behind the pillow, and she gasped, and she shrieked, and she left the room one point and came back. But a couple weeks later, after this conversation, I brought it up again, and she got a little bit nervous, but a little bit tense, but she was able to completely handle it. It was a huge change in level of tension, just because Hashem helped, and we opened up the topic in front of her, and her mother stayed calm. So this is a trick you can use if your kid doesn't want to talk about something. You bring it up for them, and it shows them that it's something you can talk about. But the problem's not yet completely solved, but it will be discussed and opened up. And one more thing I wanted to say, is there one more thing? Oh right, I was asked to keep it under 2 hours, so I will try to keep to that. One more thing, it's Yud Shvat. Today was Yud Shvat, which is the yahrzeit of the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, who's the Lubavitch Rebbe's father-in-law, and he started Chabad here in America out of his love for every Yid, and a lot of you are familiar. And if you want to make him happy, he asked that everyone should learn Chumash and say Tehillim each day, and if you can handle it, also learn Tanya. But there's no pressure from me. Good luck, and L'chaim. Thank you for listening.